Hello everyone. In this class, we will study the essay written by Kenneth J. Pakenham, Dr. Kenneth J. Pakenham, and Joe McEntire, and Jessica Williams. Dr. Kenneth Pakenham. He's Dr. Kenneth Pakenham. Dr. Kenneth Pakenham. Dr. Kenneth J. Pakenham is an associate professor emeritus in the Department of English. In the Department of English at the University of Akron, Ohio, USA, with a doctorate from the University of Pittsburgh. Dr. Pekin's specialization includes theory and practice of teaching, learning, ESL, English as a second language, ESL reading and textbook writing, first and second language acquisition, and sociolinguistics. His interests are diverse and varied, ranging from sociolinguistic rules of speaking and intercultural communication to strategies for global coherence, such as in ESL reading and computer-assisted reading practice. He is the author of a series of anthologies that have been widely praised for imparting the required skills for academic reading and vocabulary at the undergraduate level. This is Joe McEntire has done her BA from Manchester University. From Manchester University and is an ESL faculty at Shoreline Community College, Shoreline, Washington, United States. She has authored numerous textbooks that have been recommended by several universities for different academic and professional programs. She is Jessica Williams. Has a PhD in applied linguistics and he's professor emerita linguistics at the Department of Linguistics, University of Illinois, Chicago, USA. She has authored several scholarly articles and has numerous ESL textbooks to her credit. The one world, one culture. A culture is a rich source of language, arts, fashion, music, ideas, and food. It is at the core of group identity, and while cultures have similarities, each is unique. All cultures are constantly changing and adapting to new influences. Today, the pace at which cultures are changing is increasing due to a number of factors. One factor is immigration. As immigrants enter a country, they bring new cultures. Immigration means the act of someone coming to live in a different country. They, as immigrants enter a country, they bring new cultures, which then interact with the existing cultures. A second factor is globalization. Globalization. As trade and technology build increasingly complicated connections among countries, sociologists, sociologists, people who study sociology, some sociologists who studies sociologies or is an expert in sociology are debating the effect this globalization will have on individual cultures. Globalization can be defined as a system of very complex connections among countries. It happens at both an economic and a cultural level. Vast multinational corporations develop intricate relationships. Some intricate means something complicated and detailed. Relationship with different countries across the globe. Globalization, both economic and cultural level. Intricate, vast multinational corporations develop intricate relationships with different countries across the globe. As these huge corporations spread throughout the world, some sociologists believe that a process known as cultural leveling will occur because the companies distribute identical products everywhere. Cultural cultural leveling. Cultures that were once distinct will become increasingly similar. Every shopping mall in every country will have the same stores of the same brands. The same advertisements will play on every television, and the same eateries will be available on every corner. The result, these experts argue, will be a bland global culture in which the rich variety of cultures will be diminished as standardization takes over. Standardization is the process of making things of the same type so that all have the same basic features. Other sociologists dismiss the idea that individual cultures are so easily threatened by globalization. For one thing, nations are proud of their unique culture and, as such, take steps to prevent the erosion of their culture by another. Soon after opened in the nine Starbucks opened in the 587-year-old forbidden city of Beijing, the Chinese began to complain about this North American icon. The complaints were not about the quality of coffee. Instead, people argued that it was inappropriate for Starbucks to be in such an important historical and cultural site. In the end, the Chinese government decided that Starbucks should not be in such close proximity to a historical site, and they closed the store. Starbucks remain in China but is in less culturally important locations. Globalization not only influences culture by exporting products such as Starbucks, but also by having a profound effect on individuals working for these multinational companies. Starbucks opened in the 587-year-old forbidden city of Beijing. The Chinese complained about this North American icon. This complete quality of coffee, not for quality, but about cultural, should not be this such an important historical and cultural site. I would it inappropriate for Starbucks to be in such an important historical and cultural site. In the end, Chinese decided to Starbucks should not be in such close proximity to historical site and closed the store. Then Starbucks remain in China but in less culturally important locations. North American company Starbucks. Employees working for outsourcing services in India provide a clear picture of this effect. Outsourcing refers to the practice of sending some of the work of a company in one country to be done in another country. India provides 44% of outsourcing worldwide. India 44% of outsourcing worldwide, largely due to its highly educated English speaking workforce. Highly educated English speaking outsourcing worldwide, which due to its highly educated speaking skill English speaking workforce, which is willing to work long hours for less money than workers in developed countries. Technology companies and financial institutions have set up numerous call centers throughout India. When American customers call their banks with questions, it is not unusual for them to speak to someone in Mumbai or Hyderabad. These companies want Indian employees to appear American to their customers, so they provide their employee with extensive training in American culture. In effect, to be successful at work, the employees have to adapt to this culture. It is often argued that globalization and specifically outsourcing has brought significant advantages to India. Its economy is strong and a new Indian middle class is emerging. However, recent evidence is beginning to show that this progress is coming at a price. Before globalization, cultural changes happened slowly and incrementally. In contrast, the process of Americanization The process of Americanization of employees in Indian call centers is extremely rapid. Employees in Indian call center is extremely rapid. As Indian workers take on Western names, wear Western clothes, and even organize their workday around a Western time zone, they can become alienated from their own culture. Alienated means the feeling of isolation by an invisible barrier. This results in what sociologists call a hybrid culture. Hybrid culture. India, Indian by day, American by night. The high number of employees complaining of depression or quitting their jobs in these call centers reflect the stress of this hybrid life. The media, with the United States as the dominant producer and exporter, has also had a profound effect on culture in other countries. Music, television, and movies communicate North American attitudes on sex, religion, gender, and politics. Because of this, the United States is sometimes accused of cultural bullying or pushing other cultures to accept American values. The accusation seems unreasonable, however, since the demand for American movies and television has grown significantly in the last decade. Accusation means a statement saying that someone has done something wrong. Something wrong is accusation. This American movies and television have grown significantly in the last decade, resulting in huge profits for the American film industry. In 2003, domestic viewing brought in $9 billion, according to the Motion Picture Association of America. Will foreign revenue for 10.9 billion by 10.9 billion dollar by 2007. Domestic revenue was almost unchanged at $9.6 billion, but overseas revenue had increased to over $17 billion. Demand for American television programs has seen a similar increase. 10 years ago, most American programming shown overseas were relegated, relegated, relegated mean to put someone or something into a lower or less important rank, relegated to late night viewing. Today, American shows in many countries are broadcast in prime time when the largest numbers of television viewers are watching. This popularity of American media therefore indicates the flawed argument around this topic. The global public clearly wants access to American media. In spite of the global demand for Western media, governments of some countries have attempted to limit its expansion. For example, France has tried to protect the French media against Hollywood's influence by restricting the number of American television shows and movies. In 2005, for example, a French movie was not allowed to enter a prestigious French competition because it was judged as too American. It was too American. This was too American. American cultures. Too Americans. Despite being filmed in France with French actors and producers, the French organization of the competition objected to the fact that the company was partly owned by Warner Brothers, a Hollywood company from California. However, the fact that American television shows such as CSI are more popular in France than in the United States shows that the French may support French filmmaking, but they still want the freedom to choose American shows. Most countries welcome the influx of Western media. Influx means the fact of a large number of people or things arriving at the same time of Western media. Young people can listen to Lady Gaga in Bulgaria, surf Western internet sites in Vietnam, watch the television program Friends in China, and download the latest Hollywood movie in Afghanistan. Inevitably, the media communicates ideas and values of the culture of origin. This does not mean, however, that these values replace this of another culture. Rap music, for example, originated as an expression of African American street culture. Rap culture, for example, originated as an expression of African American street culture. Growing quickly in popularity, it spread throughout the United States and then globally. In 2006, rap came to Afghanistan in form of local artist DJ Beso. DJ Beso. While using the same distinctive rap beats, he raps in Dari, a local language. A local language. And he avoids the profanity that is characteristic of Western rap. His songs speak of his love for Afghanistan, like countless artists in different countries. DJ Beso has taken music from one culture and imprinted in it with his own. Culture is not static. Culture is not static, but it is living and dynamic. It is not static, it's living and dynamic. Indeed, the ability to change and adapt one's culture is an intrinsic part of human survival. So the influences of one culture upon another has been part of the story of humankind. What is the new today is that globalization has increased the speed by which this process happens. However, the fear that increased internalization, internationalization will lead to the elimination of distinct cultures, and the creation of one bland culture seems unfounded. Not unfounded means not based on fact, untrue, unfounded. It is more likely that as cultures interact, they will continue to adapt and change, while maintaining their own unique characteristics. The the culture is a dynamic idea. The conclusion of the text is this essay is culture is a dynamic idea and keeps changing with reference to time and space. It is impossible to define culture in a universal context and refer to it as a homogenized entity. It means differently to each individual and connects everyone by certain basic commonalities. Immigration and globalization have led to cultures crossing paths, and this affects every other sphere, including politics, economics, businesses, lifestyle, etc. The essay advocates diversity and pluralism mutually existing in the world along with different cultures. Now, moving ahead, MCQs. Solving MCQs. Which multinational retail chain had a branch in the forbidden city of Beijing that moved away? Starbucks. Forbidden city of Beijing in China by Starbucks. It is still, but not in the cultural regions, historical or away from cultural region. It is forbidden in cultural and historical places. So the center was stopped, the closed. Starbucks was closed in the forbidden city of Beijing because of historical and cultural area. Which country has reformed censorship laws to limit American context watched by its citizens? Which country has reformed censorship laws? China. China has limit. China has reformed censorship laws to limit American content watched by its citizens. The Afghan rapper DJ Beso raps in which of the following language? Dari. Dari language. In which of the following is used to employ majority of Indians? Call centers. Which of the following refers to an individual collective being influenced by sources from the US? Americanization. Provide a brief biography of the three collective writers of the essay One World, One Culture. Kenneth J. Pakenham, Dr. Kenneth J. Pakenham, Joe McEntire, Jessica Williams. Kenneth J. Pakenham, clinical psychologist, is a clinical psychologist and researcher. Kenneth J. Pakenham, 27 February 1946, is well known for his contributions to the field of health psychology with a with a special emphasis on coping strategies, stress and chronic illness, with a PhD in clinical psychology. PhD in clinical psychology. Kenneth J.Pakenham has devoted his professional life to comprehending the psychological components of managing chronic illness. His substantial research and publication in peer-reviewed journals have made a significant contribution to the field of health psychology. The psychological aspects of adjustment and quality of life in patients with chronic illness like cancer, multiple sclerosis, and chronic pain are the main emphasis of Pakenham's research. His research frequently examines resilience, social support, coping mechanisms, and the effects of stress on health outcomes. Among Pakenham's accomplishments are the creation and validations of psychological through therapies therapies meant to enhance therapies meant to enhance the adaptive coping mechanisms and general well-being of people with long-term medical illness. His work highlights the value of integrated healthcare strategies that include psychological support in addition to medical care. He has contributed to the scholarly literature on health psychology and the management of chronic illness by writing or co-writing a large number of research articles and book chapters. His writings are widely recognized in the profession and have impacted psychological therapists and therapeutic practice all around the world. Kenneth J. Pakenham has held positions at several academic institutions where he had coached individuals aspiring to work in psychology and healthcare, taught clinical psychology courses, and performed research. He is acknowledged for his important contributions to the field of health psychology, especially in the area of comprehending the psychological effects on the lives of those who have long-term illness. His work continues to influence clinical procedures and initiatives meant to enhance patients and their families' quality of life. Now, Jessica. Second is Jessica Williams. Jessica Williams. Jessica Williams, July 31, 1989, is a gifted writer. Gifted writer, comedian, and actress who has made notable contributions to comedy, film, and television. On July 31st, 1989, in Los Angeles, California, the United States, she was born. July 31, 1989, in Los Angeles, California, United States. She was born. She started pursuing her passion in humor and acting while a student at Harbor City, California's Nathaniel Narbonne High School. Williams rose to notoriety while working as a correspondent for Comedy Central's The Daily Show. While host Jon Stewart was away at the age of 22, she became the show's youngest correspondent when she joined in 2012. She was a remarkable performer because her segments frequently addressed social and political topics with a keen sense of wit and humor. In 2006, Jessica Williams departed from The Daily Show and proceeded to advance her career in television. Alongside Phoebe Robinson, she co-created and starred in the highly acclaimed comedy series Two Dope Queens. Two Dope Queens comedy series. Dope Queens, Williams and Robinson's podcast, which began as a podcast and was later turned into an HBO series, included a variety of comedians and featured conversation about pop culture, gender, and racism. Jessica Williams has acted in a number of movies and television shows, including Booksmart in 2007, 2019, and The Incredible Jessica James. Incredible Jessica James, 2017, in which she played the lead character. Her humorous timing and genuineness are frequently complimented on her performances. Williams is well known for her writing and activism efforts in addition to her humor and acting. She is outspoken and on issues like gender equality and representation in the entertainment business and has contributed to publications like the New York Times. Jessica Williams keeps a large portion of her personal life private, yet maintaining a public presence through her career. Jessica Williams keeps a large portion of her personal life private, yet maintaining a public presence through her career. Jessica Williams, who is renowned for his charisma, clever wit, charisma clever wit and dedication to using her platforms to raise significant social concerns, is still a well-known voice in comedy and entertainment. Summarize the essay One World, One Culture. The article One World, One Culture examines how globalization affects cultural variety and how it occurs. It talks about how the uniformity of cultures around the globe is a result of globalization, which is fueled by economic integration and technological breakthroughs. The introduction of the essay acknowledges the ubiquitous influence of globalization, which has aided in the swift cross-border dissemination of concepts, beliefs, and behaviors. A more cohesive global culture has emerged as a result of the blending of merging of many cultures aspects brought about by this interconnection. Many people see this occurrence favorably as something that fosters intercultural understanding and collaborations. The essay does, however, also point out some possible negative effects of cultural uniformity. It makes the case that whereas globalization encourages cultural hybridization and interchange, it can also weaken regional traditions, languages, and customs. Opponents of this trend contend that rather than being absorbed into a single worldwide culture, cultural diversity should be conserved since it benefits humanity. In conclusion, the essay makes the case that even while globalization fosters innovation and cross-cultural exchange, maintaining cultural identities must be balanced with global integration. In cultural identities must be balanced with global integration. It promotes actions and policies that support cultural diversity and welcome the advantages of global connectedness. In general, One World, One Culture explores the intricate relationship between cultural variety and globalization, challenging readers to assess the advantages and disadvantages of a more interconnected world. लेख वन वर्ल्ड वन कल्चर इस बात की जांच करता है कि वैश्वीकरण सांस्कृतिक विविधता को कैसे प्रभावित करता है और यह कैसे होता है। यह इस बारे में बात करता है कि कैसे दुनिया भर में संस्कृतियों की एकरूपता वैश्वीकरण का परिणाम है, जो आर्थिक एकीकरण और तकनीकी सफलताओं से प्रेरित है। निबंध का परिचय वैश्वीकरण के सर्वव्यापी प्रभाव को स्वीकार करता है, जिससे अवधारणाओं, विश्वासों और व्यवहारों के तेजी से सीमा पार प्रसार में सहायता की है। इस अंतर्संबंध द्वारा लाए गए कई सांस्कृतिक पहलुओं के सम्मिश्रण और विलय के परिणाम स्वरूप एक अधिक सामंजस्यपूर्ण वैश्विक संस्कृति उभरी है। बहुत से लोग इस घटना को एक ऐसी चीज के रूप में देखते हैं जो अंतर सांस्कृतिक समझ और सहयोग को बढ़ावा देती है। हालांकि निबंध सांस्कृतिक एक रूपता के कुछ संभावित नकारात्मक प्रभावों की ओर भी इशारा करता है। इससे पता चलता है कि जहां वैश्वीकरण सांस्कृतिक संकरण और आदान प्रदान को प्रोत्साहित करता है, वहीं यह क्षेत्रीय परंपराओं, भाषाओं और रीति रिवाजों को भी कमजोर करता है, कमजोर कर सकता है, रिवाजों को भी कमजोर कर सकता है। इस प्रवृत्ति के विरोधियों का तर्क है कि एकल विश्वव्यापी सांस्कृतिक में समाहित होने के बजाय सांस्कृतिक विविधता का संरक्षण किया जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि इससे मानवता को लाभ होता है। निष्कर्ष में निबंध यह बताता है कि भले ही वैश्वीकरण नवाचार और अंतर सांस्कृतिक आदान प्रदान को बढ़ावा देता है, सांस्कृतिक पहचान को बनाए रखना वैश्विक एकीकरण के साथ संतुलित होना चाहिए। यह उन कार्यों और नीतियों को बढ़ावा देता है जो सांस्कृतिक विविधता का समर्थन करते हैं और वैश्विक जुड़ाव के लाभों का स्वागत करते हैं। सामान्य तौर पर वन वर्ल्ड वन कल्चर सांस्कृतिक विविधता और वैश्वीकरण के बीच जटिल संबंधों की पड़ताल करता है, पाठकों के अधिक परस्पर जुड़ी दुनिया के फायदे और नुकसान का आकलन करने के लिए चुनौती देता है। Discuss the concept of cultural homogenization as described in One World, One Culture. How does globalization contribute to the phenomena? What are the potential benefits, drawbacks of cultural harmonization on a global scale? According to One World, One Culture, the term cultural homogenization is the process through which many cultural practices, beliefs, and traditions around the world become more standardized or similar as a result of globalization and growing interconnection. The phenomena of globalization, which is typified by breakthroughs in the field of technology, communication, and transportation, has enabled unparalleled exchanges across disparate communities. The quick international diffusion of cultural goods, including music, movies, fashion, and food, is a result of our interconnectedness. Consequently, cultural aspects have been increasingly taken and merged into one another, resulting in a blending of norms and practices. The essay highlights the projected global dominance of Western culture as a crucial part of cultural homogeneity. Global culture trends are frequently shaped by the standards set by Western media, consumer goods, and ideology. Concerns over the possible marginalization or erasure of non-Western cultural identities as they integrate into a more westernized framework have been highlighted by this occurrence. The promotion of cultural homogenization is greatly aided by economic forces such as international trade agreements and multinational enterprises such as international trade agreements and multinational enterprises, multinational food chains and entertainment companies, for instance, frequently export standardized goods and media formats throughout the world, influencing consumer preferences and cultural norms. Cultural homogeneity raises concerns about the deterioration of distinctive cultural identities and customs, even while it can promote better cross-cultural exchange and understanding local and cross-cultural exchange and understanding. Local arts, knowledge systems, rituals, and languages may encounter difficulties in the face of more widely accepted means of expression. Critics contend that the diversity and complexity that cultural plurality affords humans are compromised by this process. Cultures are not passive objects of globalization despite these obstacles. By claiming their cultural uniqueness and reviving ancient customs, many communities actively approach cultural homogeneity in an effort to balance the advantages of global integration with the need to maintain national identity. Some countries have put regulations in place to safeguard and promote their cultural heritage. Cultural appropriation, exploitation, and the commercialization of cultural items and symbols in an international marketplace give rise to ethical dilemmas. According to the essay, cross-cultural contact should be courteous, egalitarian, and constructive for both parties, recognizing the contributions of all countries while avoiding the perpetuation of prejudices or disparities. The intricate process of cultural homogenization is propelled by the interdependence of globalization and the impact of prevailing cultural influences. It promotes cultural integration and interchange, but it has also poses moral dilemmas regarding cultural representation and equality in a globalized society, as well as the preservation of the distinctive cultural identities throughout a number of interconnected systems that promote the global dissemination of ideas, attitudes, practices, and goods. Globalization aids in the homogenization of cultures. Developments in communication technology, especially the internet and social media, play a major role in enabling globalization. These platforms do away with conventional linguistic and geographic boundaries to enable the rapid and widespread diffusion of cultural content. Cultural influences merge as a result of people having access to and consuming global cultural items. The media environment has changed as a result of globalization, with multinational business now controlling the creation of release of movies, TV series, music, and financial means. Western media, in particular, is typically the wellspring of worldwide cultural trends. A more homogeneous global cultural landscape may result from this domination, which may eclipse local or regional cultural productions. Globalization of the economy has made it easier for commodities and services, including cultural items, to travel around the world. Worldwide marketing of standardized products by multinational firms has resulted in the growth of global brands and consumer preferences. This strategy promotes the adoption of comparable lifestyle and consumption patterns throughout various geographic areas. People have had more possibilities to travel and see different cultures directly because to increase international tourism. But in an effort to meet the expectation of visitors, tourism can also result in the commercialization of traditional customs and the portrayal of stereotypes. This may help standardize cultural experiences in order to make them more palatable to a wider audience. As a universal lingua franca, globalization encourages the expansion of dominant languages like English. The loss of native tongues and dialects as a result of this linguistic homogenization may have an impact on cultural manifestations associated with particular linguistic traditions. Furthermore, Western educational models and curricula frequently shape cultural values and the dissemination of knowledge in educational institutions throughout the world. Globalization, which is Major force behind urbanization concentrate a varied range of people in cosmopolitan cities where there is a blending and hybridization of cultures. Urban areas develop become hubs for international cultural interchange, which shapes regional habits and manifestations. Because globalization makes it easier for people, goods, and information to move across national boundaries. It hastens the homogenization of cultures. It encourages creativity and cross-cultural interchange, but it also raises questions about how different cultural identities be preserved and how will be preserved and how all cultures can be fairly represented in a globalized society. Globalization driven cultural homogenization has potential advantages as well as disadvantages. Cultural homogeneity can help people appreciate and understand other cultures more. Interaction and sharing of cultures, customs among individuals from different backgrounds can promote tolerance, empathy, and respect for one another. Standardized culture norms and practices have the potential to increase productivity in a number of fields, including business, education, and healthcare. Global standards in communication, transportation, and technology, for instance, make cross-border current contexts easier. International cultural exchange can inspire originality and inventiveness. Diverse cultural practices and ideas can be come together to produce innovative goods, services, and artistic expressions that advances society as a whole through boosting tourism, drawing in foreign investment, and creating new market for good markets for cultural goods. Cultural homogenization can support economic expansion. International trade and cooperation can also be improved by shared cultural references and experiences. However, the possible loss of distinct cultural identities and customs is arguably the biggest worry. Local languages, customs, artistic expressions, and knowledge systems may become marginalized or even extinct as global cultural norms and practices gain dominance. The prevalence of Western cultural norms and values may become more pronounced as a result of globalization, which could marginalize non-Western civilization. This disparity has the potential to erode cultural autonomy and sustain inequality. Internationally standardized consumer behavior and products are frequently promoted by global business and media conglomerates. This may result in a homogeneous lifestyle, consumption habit, and taste, hence reducing the variety of cultures encountered in daily life. Globalization driven urbanization and rapid cultural change have the potential to append established to append established social structures and bonds to the community. People undergoing fast cultural changes may experience social dislocation, identity crisis, and alienation as a result. The promotion of consumerism and resource exploitation by globalization may have detrimental effects on the environment. Furthermore, ethical questions about exploitation and deception may arise from the commercialization of cultural activities and artifacts. Cultural homogeneity creates serious obstacles and to maintaining cultural diversity, advancing fair representation, and supporting sustainable development in a globalized world. Even will it may have some positive effects like greater cross-cultural exchange and economic progress. Careful consideration of cultural rights, ethical norms, and inclusive approaches to cross-cultural intersections are necessary to weigh the advantages and disadvantages. According to the essay, globalization promotes cultural exchange and integration. Analyze how this interconnectedness affects the preservation of cultural diversity. What strategies does essay suggest for balancing global integration with the maintenance of cultural identities? The promotion of cultural integration and interchange by globalization has a significant impact on the preservation of cultural variety. In the essay, the process of how interconnection affects the preservation of cultural diversity has been briefly covered through travel, migration, digital communication, and international trade. People from diverse cultures can connect more freely thanks to globalization. Can connect more freely thanks to globalization. This makes it easier for people to share beliefs, customs, languages, and artistic creations. Cultural interchange exposes people to new ideas and customs, which can improve society's cultural hybridization, in which aspects of several traditions combine to develop new cultural forms is frequently the result of increased cross-cultural interaction. Global music genres, international literature, and fusion cuisine are a few examples of cultural interchange. May encourage in creativity and innovation. The established limits that have historically protected cultural diversity are under threat from globalization. Local communities are exposed to more outside influences that could change or question long-standing customs as global communication networks grow. Re-evaluating cultural norms and values may result from this. Globalization encourages trade, but it also puts pressure on cultures to become more alike. Local customs and languages may be eclipsed by dominant cultural trends, which are frequently promoted by Western media and international companies. As groups adopt more widely accepted norms, this may lessen the range of cultural expressions. In the face of globalization, indigenous cultures, in particular, struggle to maintain their unique identities and customs. Government policies, tourism, and economic growth may promote cultural assimilation, endangering indigenous languages, ecological knowledge, and spiritual traditions. By reviving old customs and defending their cultural rights, many communities actively fight against cultural absorption. UNESCO designation. UNESCO designation of intangible cultural assets, indigenous movement, and cultural preservation initiatives are a few examples of response meant to protect diversity in the face of globalization. International cultural interchange brings up moral questions of justice, representation, and respect. It is crucial to make sure that cultural exchanges are carried out mindful of the specific circumstances of each place, preventing the appreciation of exploitation of cultural identity, traditions, and symbols. Globalization encourages cultural integration and interchange, yet also has a variety of negative repercussions on the preservation of cultural diversity. It presents difficulties for present, presenting preserving distinctive cultures, preserving distinctive cultures and customs in a globalized society. Even will it can foster innovation and understanding between people, protecting cultural rights, encouraging inclusive control, inclusive cultural discourse, and assisting local communities in maintaining their unique history in the face of external pressures are all necessary to strike a balance between these dynamics. The article One World, One Culture offers a number of solutions for striking a balance between cultural identity, preservation, and global integration. These tactics embrace the advantages of being globally interconnected. While promoting cultural variety, it is essential to support cultural education and awareness on a local and international scale. This involves encouraging awareness and respect of many cultures around the world, as well as teaching customs, languages, history, and values within communities. Education may promote a sense of pride in one's own background and help people learn to respect cultural differences. It is crucial to put policies in place that promote cultural diversity. Indigenous cultures, language, and customs can be safeguarded and promoted through the establishment of frameworks by governments and international organizations. This could entail giving money to cultural projects, assisting cultural organizations, and incorporating cultural factors into more general development plans. It is essential to empower local and indigenous populations to protect their cultural identity. This entails upholding land rights, encouraging environmentally friendly behaviors that are based in cultural customs, and giving communities a voice in decisions that have impact on their cultural heritage. Fostering courteous and candid communication among diverse ethnic groups fosters collaboration and understanding amongst them. Festivals, forums, and digital networks are examples of platforms that promote cross-cultural communication and can help to foster meaningful connections that challenge preconceptions and appreciate variety. A balanced approach is necessary to acknowledge the advantages of global integration while preserving local customs. Balanced approach is necessary to acknowledge the advantages global integration while preserving local customs. Promoting cultural manifestations that incorporate both traditional and modern influences is part of this. Core cultural values should be respected while embracing innovation and adaptability to help cultures change without becoming less unique. It is crucial to participate in international activities like trade, tourism, and media in an ethical manner. This entails staying away from cultural appropriation, upholding the rights of intellectual property, and making sure that different cultures are fairly represented on international platforms. The robustness of cultural identities can be increased by coordinating cultural preservation initiatives with more general sustainable development objectives. Understanding how cultural diversity is linked to social justice, environmental sustainability, and economic prosperity encourages comprehensive approaches to cultural preservation. Cultural diversity is linked to social justice, environment, mental sustainability, environmental sustainability. Understanding understanding how cultural diversity is linked to social justice and environmental sustainability and economic prosperity. T encourages comprehensive approaches to cultural encourages cultural comprehensive approaches to cultural encourage to comprehensive approaches to cultural preservation. The essay navigates the potential and problem of global integration while advo- advocating for proactive actions that protect cultural variety as a fundamental human right. Societies can work toward a more peaceful coexistence in a globalized society by promoting respect, inclusion, and empowerment, both within and between cultures. Different viewpoints from a range of academic fields are evoked by the question one world, one culture, and each one provides a special perspective on the difficulties of cultural globalization and its effects. Cultural diversity and the preservation of distinctive cultural traditions are frequently highlighted in anthropology. Anthropologists stress the diversity of human culture and the need of appreciating and comprehending various cultural norms and values. Anthropology. The concept of one world, one culture may be criticized by certain anthropologists as encouraging cultural uniformity as the erasure of indigenous treasure. Encouraging cultural uniformity. They contend that the preservation of human legacy and the promotion of creativity and innovation depends in cultural diversity. Sociology studies sociology studies how cultural sociology studies how institutions and social structures influence cultural norms and behavior in communities. Sociologists may research the ways in which globalization affects the spread and blending of cultures, giving rise to international cultural practices and trends. Sociological viewpoints may challenge the idea of one culture, world, one culture, by drawing attention to power imbalances and disparities in the transfer of culture around the world. They might stress how resilient cultural identities are and how they oppose global cultural hegemony. Global culture exchanges and interactions are shaped by governments, international organizations, and policies as explored by political scientists. Academics could examine how ideas of one world, one culture are influenced by cultural diplomacy and soft powers. From the standpoints of cultural sovereignty and nationalism, political scientists may challenge the idea, claiming that initiatives to advance a single global culture may jeopardize national cultural diversity and autonomy. The production, transmission, and reception of cultural practices and beliefs are all examined by cultural studies. Cultural studies researchers may look into the ways that globalization, media, and technology support the exchange of ideas and cultural goods around the world within the worldwide flows of culture. Hybridity and cultural resistance are frequently highlighted in cultural studies. Some academics contend that the concept of one world, one culture ignores the agency of regional groups and subcultures and oversimplifies the intricate processes of cultural contact and adaptation. Although every discipline has a unique viewpoint on one world, one culture, there are several topics that are shared by all of them, including the effects of globalization, technological developments, and cross cultural interaction. The disciplines also draw attention to a variety of criticism which range from worries about cultural homogenization and diversity loss to those that support cultural hybridity and resilience. The idea, which reflects the complex interactions between globalization, cultural identity, power dynamics, and societal values, is still up for discussion and investigation. The contrasting and comparing of viewpoints from science, political science, anthropology, sociology, and cultural studies. Anthropologists, anthropologists, sociologists, political scientists depends our the depends our the contrasting and comparing of viewpoints from political science, anthropology, sociology, and cultural study depends our comprehension of the nuances underlying the idea of one world culture. Depends our comprehension of nuances underlying the idea of one world, one culture. Every subject offers a different perspective. Every subject offers a different perspective on how cultural globalization affects individual and communal affects individual and communal. Every subject offers a different perspective on and how cultural globalization affects individual and communal identities globally and creates modern society. What are the main factors contributing to cultural homogenization? One important factor is the broad accessibility of mass media, particularly on international platforms like the internet, television, and cinema. Internet, TV, television, and cinema. Particularly Western media frequently establishes global culture standards and trends. Frequently establishes global cultural standards and trends, which causes tastes and behaviors to converge. International trade and commerce makes international trade and commerce it easier for capital goods and commerce make it easier for capital goods and services to transfer between countries. Internationally recognized norms may supplant regional cultural differences as a result of multinational firms promotion of standardized goods and customers' behaviors. The accessibility and frequency of travel and interchange between different places have increased due to advancement in communication and transportation technologies. Communication and transportation technologies. These are the factors contributing to cultural homogenization. While this encourages cross-cultural communication, it also runs the risk of pushing local customs aside in favor of prevailing cultural norms. Due to the exposure of local cultures to outside forces and consumer demands brought about by tourism, cultural relics become commodities and customs are modified to meet the needs of visitors. Local cultural expressions may be marginalized or suppressed due to the dominance of specific cultural ideas, which are frequently linked to positions of political and economic power. When powerful cultures force their norms and values on others, it's a phenomena frequently called cultural imperialism. The process of cultural homogeneity is intricate and impacted by social, political, technological, and economic variables. Globalization encourages innovation and cross-cultural interchange, but it also poses a threat to the maintenance of regional distinct cultural identities and customs. Cultural identities and customs. What are the potential benefits of cultural exchange on global scale? Benefits. Global cultural exchange has the ability to improve societies and promote mutual understanding between various peoples. Improve societies and promote mutual understanding between various peoples. Peoples are exposed to a variety of viewpoints, traditions, and ideas through cultural interchange. People from different cultural origins can develop greater tolerance, empathy, and mutual understandings as a result of this experience. Innovation and creativity can be sparked by exposing societies to novel concepts, methods, and artistic manifestations. Innovation and creativity, innovation and creativity. New forms of art, music, food, and technology are frequently created through the adaptation of and blending of various cultural elements as a result of cultural interchange. New forms of art, music, food, and technology are frequently created through the adaptation and blending of various cultural elements as a result of cultural interchange. As a result of cultural interchange. Interaction with different cultures broadens one's perspective and appreciation of cultural variety. People gain knowledge about the diversity of different cultures, including their history, language, and practices, which helps them see the world more inclusive and internationally. By drawing tourists eager to experience other cultures, the cultural tourism and industries can boost local economies. As a result, jobs are generated in the tourism, hospitality, and the arts and craft industries, promoting economic expansion. Jobs are generated in the tourism, hospitality, and arts and crafts industries, promoting promoting economic expansion. Through exposure to diverse viewpoints, cultural exchange programs in schools and colleges improve student learning outcomes. This equips individuals with cross-cultural abilities necessary for success in varied workplaces and helps them navigate an increasingly interconnected world. Global cultural interchange promotes respect for one another, creativity, economic developments, and international cooperation, among many other advantages that go beyond national lines. A more accepting and peaceful global community is a result of valuing and enjoying cultural diversity. A more accepting, a more accepting and peaceful global community is a result of valuing and enjoying cultural diversity. What are ethical concerns arise from cultural appropriation in a global context? Global cultural appropriation gives rise to serious ethical concerns about equity, equity and representation and respect. Equity, representation and respect. When a dominant or privileged groups adopts or uses aspects or marginalized or oppressed culture without going due credit or without giving due credit or understanding to those parts cultural value, this is known as cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation, when a dominant or privileged group adopts or uses aspects of a marginalized or oppressed culture without giving due credit or understanding to those parts cultural value. This is known as cultural appropriation. This disregard for religious symbols, rituals, or activities that have great cultural significance within their original context can trivialize or corrupt them. When cultural components are taken, they could be misinterpreted or reduced to stereotypes, which feeds negative perception about the culture and its people. This has a potential to exacerbate already existing power disparities and fuel bias and discrimination. Cultural appropriation is a business setting can result in business settings can result in financial exploitation. Indigenous or marginalized populations may see the commoditization and profit sharing of their traditional knowledge, designs, or cultural items without just compensation. The original culture's sovereignty and economic rights are compromised by this exploitation. The integrity and authenticity of cultural practices and traditions can be undermined by cultural appropriation. Over time, cultural elements may lose their value and become diluted or twisted when they are removed from their original settings and meanings. This may make it more difficult for local communities to protect and celebrate their cultural heritage. Cultural appropriation frequently represents larger power relations with roots in injustices and colonial pasts. Cultural appropriation can reinforce these dynamics by marginalizing voices from the appropriated culture and maintaining cultural hegemony, which are the values, norms, and aesthetics that dominant cultures have historically imposed on underprivileged populations. Real cultural exchange, as opposed to cultural appropriation, is promoted through cultivating reciprocity, respect, and cooperation between civilizations. This respects community autonomy and self-determination and encourages a more equitable exchange of knowledge, customs, and artistic manifestations. Being mindful of the histories, contexts, and rights of minority cultures is necessary to address the ethical issues of cultural appropriation. Encouraging ethical involvement protects the integrity and dignity of varied cultural heritages. In a globalized world, while fostering cultural appreciation, dialogue, and understanding. Encouraging ethical involvement protects integrity and dignity. Ethical involvement protects the integrity and dignity of varied cultural heritages of varied cultural heritages in a globalized world. While fostering cultural appreciation, dialogue, and understanding. Which of the following best describes cultural homogenization in the context of globalization? Preservation of local traditions, integration and blending of diverse cultural practices, exclusivity of dominant cultural norms, resistance to global influences, integration and blending of diverse cultural practices, integration and blending of diverse cultural practices. What role does globalization play in the culture of cultural harmonization? It promotes isolationism and cultural purity. It facilitates greater cultural exchange and integration. It prioritizes local cultural identifies cultural identities. It discourages technological advancement. It facilitates greater cultural exchange and integration. According to this, what are the potential benefits of cultural exchange on global scale? Economic exploitation means representation, increased stereotyping and cultural dominance, homogenization and isolation, mutual understanding and creativity. What ethical concerns arise from cultural appropriation in a global context? Lack of respect for cultural organs, economic exploitation, preservation of cultural integrity, promotion of diversity, isolation and resistance to global influence, collaboration and reciprocity between cultures, lack of respect for cultural organs, economic origins, cultural origins, economic exploitation. How does cultural exchange contribute to global citizenship? By enforcing stereotypes and discrimination, through promotion of cultural isolation, by fostering empathy and cooperation across borders, by minimizing diversity and cultural pluralism, by fostering empathy and cooperation across borders. Which is the primary address is in one world, one culture. Cultural isolationism, primary concern addressed in the essay. Cultural diversity, preservation. Cultural isolation, economic globalization, technological advancement. According to the essay, what is the significant factor contributing to cultural homogenization? Local governance, technological advancement, linguistic diversity and traditional practices, technical advancement like transportation and communication. How does globalization impact cultural exchange? It restricts cultural 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 interactions. It promotes cultural isolation. It facilitates greater cultural interaction and integration. It emphasizes local cultural identities. What are the potential benefits of cultural exchange mentioned in the essay? Enhanced mutual understanding and creativity. Economic exploitation and misrepresentation increase cultural stereotypes, preserving of cultural isolation. Benefits of cultural exchange. Potential benefits of cultural exchange: mutual understanding and creativity. Enhanced mutual understanding and creativity. Ethical concerns does the essay highlight regarding cultural appropriation? Lack of respect for cultural origins, economic exploitation, preservation of cultural integrity, promotion of diversity. Lack of respect for cultural origins, isolationism and resistance to global influences, collaboration and reciprocity between cultures. Lack of respect for cultural origins. Lack of respect for cultural origins, economic exploitation. One World, One Culture argues that culture is not static but even dynamic. Immigration plays a significant role as newcomers bring their cultures into host countries. Explain how. The text One World, One Culture discusses the impact of globalization on culture. Explain. 10 marks. These are previous year questions. The dynamics. The newcomers bring their own culture and the cultural interchange, hybrid cultures. One will discuss the impact of globalization, like local culture affected